Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. We are back for the first time, maybe the second time. I don't know. We'll decide that in post. This is a podcast that is run by professional entertainers, sort of, working actor, working comedian, who are also professional paramedics with a lot of multiple years of experience working real 911 calls. And what we do on this show is we break down actual 911 calls with people who are in the call, on the call. Sometimes the call was on their behalf. Sometimes they had to call. Sometimes they are who responded. But we go through the whole thing, giving that a perspective on all angles of how a 911 call goes down, and we make it interesting and compelling. All right. My name is Ben Gonzalez. I am a comic and a paramedic, as I covered through part of the intro there. I have been a paramedic licensed in LA County since 2003, worked 911 in different areas, LA, South Bay, and currently work in what's called EMS administration. It's pretty fun, and I'll get back to it more in a little bit. I have also worked as a stand-up comedian for a while, started comedy in 2011. I've done a lot of shows, produced a lot of shows, traveled around the country performing, able to headline, done a little bit of stuff on TV. It has been fun, and it's a trip to try to balance both things. We're going to get into that all on the podcast through this episode and through the future, and show how it is to balance all those things, have a career in entertainment while you also try to have a career on the streets helping people. Or, you know, I'm not necessarily in the streets now, but my brother is, and let's have him talk because he is going to be the co-host on this podcast. How you doing, bro?
Thank you for that intro, Ben.
Yeah.
I'm your co-host, Danny Gonzalez. I'm also a licensed paramedic in the County of Los Angeles. I'm actually a nationally registered paramedic. Have been for the past 20 years. I've been working for the past 17 years with the LA City Fire Department in some of the busiest parts of the city. I've worked multiple years in Skid Row, South Central, and I'm currently working in Venice Beach area. I'm also an actor. I've been an actor professionally since I was about 9 years old. I did a bunch of work when I was a kid. Took a big, long 14-year hiatus to get on the fire department, become a paramedic, kind of try to perfect that job. You know, you got to give it all your attention when you're trying to learn it, because it is an important job, and I do have people's lives in my hands every time I'm at work. Yeah. But I came back to acting about 7 years ago, and it's been going really good. I've booked a bunch of guest star roles on some pretty major TV shows. You know, I've been on SWAT. Bosch, I have a recurring role on Bosch, which season 6 is out right now, guys.
Nice.
Go watch Bosch.
Amazon.
On Amazon Prime. It's a fantastic show, and their next season is going to be their final season, so it's a good time to catch up.
All
Little
right.
Bosch commercial for you. They don't pay me, all right? They don't
Yeah.
pay me. Yeah, working actor, and man, we just came up with this idea together to have this podcast and have some interesting stories to tell. I think it's a perspective that isn't out there right now, and that people are yearning for. So excited to do this, man. Oh, and as always, the opinions and things said here are our own opinions. They do not reflect the opinions of our employers.
Dear God, no.
Please, please, please understand that.
We
Okay.
still have to work.
So,
And that's the whole thing. Like, how do we balance that? You know what I mean? We really do this work. And, like, he's, like, you know, telling me he was on SWAT or something. This dude's been on, like any network you name, there's, like, multiple primetime shows that he has, you know, not either a speaking role or, like, he was, like, a full-on guest star of an episode. Like, there's an episode about his
I'm
house,
not one
you
to
know?
brag, but
Yeah,
you might have
alright.
seen me in some things.
And some stuff and some things, and like you won't think that, like, okay, I just watched this whole NCIS episode, and that guy is also like a firefighter for
And that's
reals and goes into fires and shit. Like,
And
still,
that's funny too,
you know?
because a lot of times I'll get parts because I do play a lieutenant on Bosch, where I was on golly, what was that show? The hospital show. Dang it, I can't even remember the name. But I'm on different shows where there's medical issues going on, or there's an
what was it called?
emergency.
Code Black?
Code Black.
Yeah.
Code Black.
All right.
Thanks.
CBS. Yeah.
You know, where they're doing the read through and they'll say something medical and nobody knows what the hell they're talking about because the writer's not in there or whatever, and I'll be able to interject and give some input on that. I've also done some consulting for different shows too, for 911, a couple of the fire department shows out there. So yeah, man,
That is cool.
It's a fun career on both sides. Consulting,
I didn't even know. Yeah, it is a lot of fun, and that's a whole thing that we're going to cover on this stuff, because we do that, we do this, and that's what we wanted to be able to talk about and bring in. And then there's other people like where you don't suspect that, you know, so and so is now a firefighter. You know what I mean? Or there are different actors, different comedians. There's paramedics. There's, you know, cops, doctors that we'll have come in that all have interesting stories, man. All people that you don't suspect. What's the other side of what they do? We can all talk about it here, and that's going to be fun. So part of that too is going to be with the guests that we have, and it won't always be necessarily guests that have always had a been the victim of an accident or some kind of incident. But that's what we're going to have a lot of times, and that's what we're going to have here today. Our guests today that we have are great friends of ours as well. Tony Klein and his wonderful wife, Rhavin Klein. How are you guys doing?
Hey.
Doing great, man.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming,
out.
man. I've known Tony for a long time. We have been comics together in L.A. We started producing a show together about 2015. Yeah, it's been that shit, dude. Yeah, over 5 years now. Yeah. Pretty successful run. I mean, all comedy is pretty much shut down live in L.A. for now due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah. How are you holding up with all that, man? I mean, it pretty much just shut down.
It did. It shut down everything I do. So, like, I've been basically, I've not had this, like, this is the summer vacation I haven't had since, like, third grade. So, like, I've been working since then, basically. And this is, like, everything you need for being a new, like, my wife and I just had our first baby.
Shout out to Little Deuce.
Yeah,
Hey.
little Anthony Robert Klein the second, because the first one's so good, like 9 months ago. So it's been like, this couldn't be a better timing for someone that has a brand new kid that, like, you know, being the fact that I also have a day job and then I do the night hustle of stand up, like, I'm not around that much. So having this time to be hanging out with my son is like ideal.
Bonding.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
It's
And,
nice.
you know,
And the fathers don't always get that.
never.
It's
No.
nice to have him around and have the help, because
Yeah, I'm
he's one
sure.
hell of a dad.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah, I hate to say it, man, but same thing for me. You know, like it's obviously a bad thing that this thing is going on. The pandemic's out there. It's
Yeah.
a terrible thing for a lot of people. But the benefits of it, man, of being able to spend time with the kids, with
Guilt-free,
the family,
too.
guilt-free.
Yeah, 'cause it's not like, you know, I think, you know, after we first had the kid, there's like that, man, I'm kind of like, you know, there's like a little bit of FOMO where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm at home with my son. People are out getting on stage.
Right.
I'm losing my footing in the stand-up game. Whereas this is like, everyone's like hitting pause, and it's like, all right, cool, my fucking career is just where I left it, you know, wherever that is.
There's a silver lining for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
then you
gotta
come back
find
into
the
it.
beauty
Exactly.
out of this whole pandemic. You try and stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we are seeing like where you guys are at now. So let's dial it back a few years for, you know, the purposes of the show and what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because we were already producing a show. It's a pretty successful show. We had a lot of fun with it. We're doing it weekly. We switched it to monthly.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to, this is 2017 or 2016.
2016.
2016, yeah.
You guys remember the date still?
Um,
It was like late in the year, right?
Yeah, it was
The
like
22nd
November
or 15th.
15th, yeah.
November 15th, 2016.
Yeah.
November 15th, 2016.
Yeah.
I remember, I think we had a show the next day.
We did.
We were supposed to have a show the next
show the
day.
next day. I
Right.
had done a show. Rhavin,
Robin's Pub or something.
yeah, Robin Hood Pub in Sherman Oaks.
Robin Hood. Pub.
She actually does like on-camera hosting. So she just did like a show in Burbank, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Oh, that's when you were
Afterbuzz.
doing the
I was doing
Afterbuzz, right?
Afterbuzz.
Yeah.
That's
I was
right.
I was just finishing up. I can't remember what show I was covering, but I was just finishing up. And normally I would go home, but I checked in with him because he was still out. So I decided to link up with him.
Yeah. So I was like, babe, why don't you just come by my show and we'll both go back to the apartment we're living at in Hollywood. Just, you know, follow me home.
So you guys are living together at this
We're
time.
living together, yeah.
Been together for how long
Yeah.
at this point?
Like 4
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were engaged at that point.
We had just gotten engaged.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Like,
We had just gotten engaged a month before that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
The month before.
That's
we
right,
had just
yeah.
gotten engaged. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of beautiful time where you just got engaged,
Well, it's
you're living
funny,
together,
exactly,
planning the
because-
wedding and stuff like that.
So, you know, basically, you know, we just, you know, we plan on doing a 2-year engagement. Actually, I think
We
might
wanted
have
to
been-
stack up.
I think we were engaged for a year.
We were?
Yeah. It's funny. This is like not that long
By
ago.
the
but
time
it's
it
been so
happened?
long ago. Yeah. Yeah. By the time of the accident, we were engaged for about a year at that point. And then
Ralph's
After
rolling
the
through the
accident.
timeline in our
Yeah.
eyes.
Because
I think I'm with you. I
The
think
accident was in 2017. We got married in 2018. So after.
Yeah.
Oh,
so you're right.
okay.
He's
So
absolutely
because we
right.
were
We started
starting
planning.
off thinking that the accident was 2016.
Yeah.
And we've already given that away now. We're going to talk about a car accident, you guys.
Yeah.
If you're a paramedic,
The jig is
it's
up.
like, how often would you say you roll on a TC?
Every day.
TC, traffic collision. So we also use a lot of lingo on this show. We'll try to be like, aware of that and conscious of that we don't, overdo it. There's paramedics and stuff that'll be listening to this show, but, not everybody's a paramedic. Not everyone's going to know what we're saying. So we'll try to stay aware of that.
TC, traffic collision.
All right.
So I would say, in general, traffic collision is one of our regular runs that we get all the time,
Especially in the city.
especially in the city. Everybody's, and that's one of the benefits of this pandemic too, is that everybody's home, nobody's driving.
Yeah.
I mean, our call volume at work has dropped, and part of that is because nobody's driving. There's no TCs
Right.
out there, So it's a pretty common call for us in the fire department.
At least once a day.
At least once a day, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The
At least once a
majority
day.
of these being, minor, fender bender,
Yeah.
stuff like that. People with their neck hurts, something like that.
Yeah, I'd say 1 out of every 7 or 8 is a serious accident, like the one you guys are going to describe. So,
Right.
why don't you just take us how was the day going up to that point? Was it just a normal day for you
Typical
guys?
day for both of us. Both
Yeah.
of us worked our day job and then went to our night hustles afterwards. And then
We're like two ships passing by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, we're just really busy all
Yeah.
the time.
So there's again, because the fact that I had, told her, she's like, I'm gonna go home. Like, just come by here. We'll grab a drink and we'll go home. So she came by. Didn't have anything to drink.
Oh my gosh, thank God.
Thank
All right.
God.
Right.
Normally, I'll
Yeah.
have a drink.
So
Sure.
I literally, I'll
Yeah.
have a Cosmo. And
Well, you're trying to get through a show.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
weekday
that
show,
part.
which is a
a
comedy show.
million of them. Yeah, and this particular show was like a shit show in Sherman Oaks. I can say that because I started the show, so I'm sounding like a
Okay.
dick thing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I
It's your shit.
yeah,
show.
exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I
He's
was the
taking
cause of that
responsibility
individual,
for it.
yeah. But then I went up and I had a shitty set, right? And I'm like, fuck it, kind of leaving defeated. It's like 11:30 later.
This
than I wanted
day
to be
can't
out.
get any
Yeah.
worse.
And then we leave out this.
And she
alley.
watched that shitty set.
I
She
watched
watched
the
it.
shitty
Okay,
set.
and I was like,
just a double
Yeah,
gut punch.
exactly.
Gotcha.
So then, we pull out of this alley behind the actual venue.
He's
and
in front.
I'm driving
so
my.
He's in his 67 Cutlass.
Not bragging.
I am in the 2016 Chevy Volt, which, by the way, at the time, we also had my 98 Honda Civic. So I could have been in that.
Right.
So
'Cause
he's
the
in
Volt was really
he's in a
his.
tank,
Yeah.
and you're in a water balloon. Basically,
Exactly.
is,
Basically.
is what you're saying. Okay.
And
But-
the Volt was really his, but I was driving it because.
While the tank is safe
Yeah.
in quotes, are there seatbelts in that car? I forget, dude.
Ish.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Ish.
I feel like you're
1967, you guys.
Yeah. So, again, because of the fact that I had the safe fuel efficient car, I let her drive all the time, and I like driving my classic car. It just costs a lot of money. So
Sure.
I drove her to the show. We're leaving. We pull out this alley, and I cross the intersection.
Everyone stops, makes a gap
Obviously,
to let him
67
cross
Cutlass coming
through.
through.
Sure.
It's a showstopper.
So
right?
he
Traffic stopper.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My turn is next, and there is a, I guess, parking lane, which we call gutter lanes sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's my turn to go after Tony, and someone curb sneaks. So they decide they don't want to wait behind everybody else. Mind you, the light that was up was red. The light ahead was red. So there was nowhere to go.
Right.
But because this one particular vehicle, it was like an old,
Pathfinder.
no, it was a Toyota
4Runner. That's what it was.
4Runner, and it
Ooh.
was the one that had the metal in the front.
Little
the
grill,
extra-
guard.
grill
Yeah.
guard up there.
Yeah, it might have been like a 98
Yeah.
or a 99, maybe a 2000. He decided he didn't want to wait and curb sneaked, smashing down like 70 miles an hour.
On a side street. So.
And you're coming out of an alley.
at a
Yeah, I'm
dead
coming out
stop.
of a
Wow.
alley, which is the driveway, and I didn't see him until it was too late because I'm trying to follow behind my boo.
And now
Right.
you're already.
And who thinks that somebody's tearing through 70 on the
Plus, everyone
exactly.
else was
parking
so
lane? Yeah.
courteous. Everyone else
Yeah.
was so courteous, and they
They
just
literally traffic stopped, and then this guy weasels through, and I just hear this, the locking brakes squeal,
yeah.
and I look in my rearview mirror, and I literally see my wife's car just get hit and then move outside of frame, and I'm like, oh shit, she's
Oh,
dead.
yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, and like I had
So
to make a U-turn.
It hit on your side?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
driver's
hit
side.
me.
Right
Literally.
on your door, or
Right
the
on my
back?
door, right
Oh,
where I
man.
was. Literally, by the time I heard the honk and I turned, I just saw headlights.
Just like a blur, huh?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it just happened so fast. And I just remember hearing metal, glass, everything. And then finally, when everything stopped, there's smoke. I can't breathe. Thank God I was in the Volt, because OnStar is like, we detected a collision. Is
Yeah.
everything all right?
Right.
I'm just like,
Right.
I'm
That
just
thing
like,
had,
I
like,
can't talk.
Every airbag. So like, you know, like I said, I just see her leave frame. I make a U-turn, and I'm like, my fucking chick's dead. I'm like, you know, I'm freaking out, and I run up. I was like the first responder to the accident
Sure.
myself. So
Right.
as I run up to it, I'm sure you've seen this with newer cars, like all the side curtain airbags were deployed. So
You
like
couldn't see
I couldn't
everything's
see
up.
shit in there.
It's
So
just
I'm like,
full of
oh my
airbag,
god, there's
yeah.
just gonna be blood everywhere. I just assumed she was just splattered all over the inside of the car. I'm like, fuck. And I open the
Yeah.
door. And she's sitting there, and she just has like this little bit of blood coming from her nose, and I'm like freaking out, and like the car's leaking shit. Now everyone's gathered on the sidewalk and stuff, and I'm trying to talk to her.
There was a person that was there before you, because there was a lot of people that jumped out before he was able to make that U-turn in that boat, the 67 Cutlass.
Right.
There were people that ran to the car before him, and they were talking to the OnStar. Remember the guy you were almost about to get into a fight with?
He came in after because I was there first. I shoot him out.
You shooed him away?
Yeah.
It's possible it could be the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time.
It
But
could be a foggy memory
where
on
are
you
you
remember
guys
there
that
were
hit
at?
by
so
the
many
car.
people.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And that's usually how it
didn't
goes.
I couldn't see him. I didn't see him first, so I just.
It's
So
probably hard.
you open the passenger door then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the
Okay.
driver's
Driver
side door
door
was
is
just
shoved
smashed
in.
into her.
Was it smashed in like halfway into her seat, three
Yeah.
quarters of the way, about
And the
halfway?
Forerunner is
Halfway in.
higher up than your Volt,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? So those bars are
That's a
like
SUV.
smashing through the
Exactly.
window basically and smashing it out.
So-
the whole. Oh,
So
go ahead.
that's one of the first things we look for when we show up on scene, a paramedic or a truck company or something like that, is what we call passenger space intrusion.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm.
You could get hit just as hard as you got hit on your rear passenger side and not have a scratch on you. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Would have popped out.
So where you get hit, and some cars have reinforcement in the doors too. Some of them, like newer BMWs and stuff like that, like higher end cars, have titanium reinforcement and stuff in the doors.
I think that
And
one
so
did
if it is hard enough to hit that door, you have to imagine. I mean, that's a
The
three
impact.
3,000 pound hunk of metal
Yeah.
that hit you hard enough to smush your hunk of metal halfway into your body.
Yeah.
that's a serious
and
serious
push the
hit.
car like 30 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
That's
he was
a
moving.
serious
I mean,
hit.
like she was her wheels were
Perpendicular, so it was
sideways. Yeah, so
T-bone.
you just
Sure.
like
See,
pushed
and
her.
passenger space intrusion can count on its own as you needing to go to a trauma center, even if you're not showing other injuries.
Interesting.
We could just say you were in a car with passenger space intrusion, and they'll just take it like, okay, we have to check you and scan you and do
Yeah.
everything, just because the
Why,
impact.
why
You
risk
never
it?
know.
You never
exactly.
know.
Just because something's not showing up, you could still be jacked up inside and
have
just
to.
not know
That
it.
makes sense.
Just because that happened, you know.
And because your adrenaline's up, you just got hit by a car. You know what I mean? So it can hide injuries that you don't even feel yet. You know?
This is true, because I didn't know that I couldn't move until I couldn't move.
Yeah.
At one point, I see Tony and this innocent bystander who appeared to be an off-duty EMT or a paramedic.
He
guy.
volunteered that information because I was like in the car and
He didn't want to freak you out, probably.
Yeah.
what
He
happened
was
was
talking to the OnStar person, like, we've got a hemorrhage of the nose. And he was saying, like, probably all the lingo that you guys know.
in
to the
hindsight,
OnStar.
it was like a who's on first type scenario. But like it's my chick, right? And
Right.
no one knows that.
No one knows
knows
that.
it. Like they're just like this some dude in an
There's
old
some
blue
white
car.
guy that ran up to
It's
this
like trying to
chick,
get
yeah.
like get up on some
Like,
black chick.
yeah.
You know, in
This
the
ain't
fucking
Tinder,
bolt,
buddy.
right? Yeah, exactly. I'm
take
like,
a step
I'll
back.
save you.
Yeah.
So like and during this whole thing, like people are just yelling in the fucking
There was
sidewalk, and this guy's
all
like,
type of
"It's
commotion.
leaking gas." I'm like, "Fuck, the car's leaking gas." I'm like, "I'm gonna get her out of this fucking car because like I know you're not supposed to move
Oh,
them, but I'm like,
shit.
I'm also not gonna let her blow up in the
Yeah.
car."
Yeah.
So I
The
unbuckle her
moment.
seatbelt, and the guy's like, "Don't touch her." I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" He's like, "I'm an off-duty." He's like, "I'm an off-duty EMT." I'm like, "Well, you off-duty because you're not good at the job or some shit." I was like, and he's talking to the OnStar, and the OnStar's talking to me, and I'm like, "Look, I got this. Let me field these questions and shit." And like,
Yeah,
right
there was
around-
like this commotion that was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But all I remember is someone yelling, "It's leaking gasoline." And immediately I go to turn the car off because in the movies, you know, you want to turn the
Right.
car off because
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. But I go to reach for the push start button and it's gone. Like the car is so mangled that
Yeah, you
it
got
wasn't
no way
there.
to turn the car off.
Yeah.
And so I tried to put it in park and then turn it off. Couldn't find it. He reaches and unbuckles me because I'm like, oh, we're getting out, you know. And that's when I looked at him and I'm like, I can't move. I thought I was just gonna hop out like,
But
let's
she
do
couldn't
it.
talk at this time either. She had like
It was
had-
just all
yeah.
eyes. And
But you were that conscious to try to shut off the car.
I
and you
threw it
knew
in.
what was
I threw it
happening
in.
and
Yeah, my
everything.
right arm was good. I threw it in park, and then I tried to turn it off, and I couldn't. And then that's when he reached for my seatbelt, and I was like, "Let's get out."
Was
And
it
I couldn't.
foggy when you were doing that? Like, did it feel like a dream? Like you didn't really know what was going on, or were you
Yes.
clear and conscious?
It was very dreamy-esque.
Okay, yeah.
So you weren't feeling your body basically
No.
during that. You definitely weren't
None
feeling
whatsoever,
below the waist.
because I thought I've been T-boned before,
Uh-huh.
not as bad, and I hopped out. Like, people came to the car and they helped me get out of the driver's
Sure.
side.
Yeah.
So I thought this was going to be a similar situation. I'm like, cool, let's hop out. And that's when I realized I couldn't move. It wasn't even me trying to. Nothing moved.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't move, and I was just looking at Tony like, and then someone else yelled, "It's not gasoline, it's coolant."
Yeah.
Yeah, someone was like, "Calm
there's
down,
like
like
this-
Well,
everybody
it's a
chill."
volt.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, the-
Exactly.
gas in the volt.
There is gas, but
Yeah.
it's less gas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone was
Yeah.
like, "It's not, it's just relax," and then everything was just like, "Oh my gosh, like what is happening?"
Yeah.
So at this point, this is like 2 minutes in.
maybe,
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah, if that.
because
Did
then
you
the
call?
paramedics were,
Well,
No,
OnStar
OnStar called.
for you, right? That's right.
which I'm sure other people did as well.
and they had connected the dispatcher into the car, right?
Yeah.
No, it was just
it was just the
It
OnStar?
was just
Yeah.
OnStar the
Yeah.
whole
Okay.
time. in
I think
the car.
OnStar talks directly to
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
to the dispatch.
It was pretty
Okay.
dope. I mean, OnStar is like, definitely we have that in the Malibu that we have now. We're Chevy loyal.
Shout out
Yeah.
OnStar.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Seriously.
I mean, honestly, because the reason why we went with that car is because like it had like the 5-star crash rating and all that kind of shit. And to have a situation that you don't expect, obviously, if there's circumstances again, like to have that same kind of like safety features for.
And it definitely has the reinforced steel in the door. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's titanium or not, but
This has
E-
turned
either
into
way.
a Chevy commercial. Like a rock.
No
But
payments
yeah.
for 90 days.
Yeah, right?
but yeah,
But that's something else that we consider too when we get on scene. Any hard hit from the side like that, you have to think of like the physics of it. You're getting hit this way, your body and your head are going this way until something stops it. And it's usually that window. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
a lot of times on a T-bone like that, we'll see injuries to the hip, injuries to the leg, ribs, maybe forearms or something like that if you're holding the steering wheel and trying to brace yourself, but definitely head injuries. It's something we consider and take into account when we're asking you questions,
Right.
And trying to gauge your level of consciousness. Like, is she answering properly? Is she repeating her questions over and over and
I
over again?
wasn't
Like she doesn't
talking.
remember,
Yeah.
I was just shaking.
Yeah.
I was shaking my head because at that time, then the paramedics came. No, it was
We'll
the
get
fire.
to that part in a second, like where they actually show up. Because another thing that you're touching on too that people don't think about all the time when an accident happens is that like people get worried about the car exploding, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
I remember, like in Fire Academy, them talking about the likelihood of that happening. Like you want to talk about that a little,
It's
like how often that actually
slim to
does or
none.
doesn't?
Slim to
Yeah.
none. I mean,
Huh.
it's pretty rare for us to show up to a traffic accident and the car is fully involved. I mean, it's usually a really, really significant.
But if you have it showing up at accident and then it exploding,
No,
something
no,
like
no,
that,
no,
yeah, right?
no, never. Even when I go to an auto fire, and the engine compartment's on fire, you know what I mean?
It doesn't.
It doesn't explode. The tires will sometimes. Every once in a
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
they'll pop
Pop,
on
yeah.
you, and that can be dangerous. But it's something people worry about because it's exciting to watch on TV.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. And
Yeah.
then when you
Then
hear
you
someone
see something
yelling, "It's
leaking."
leaking
Yeah.
gasoline!"
Right.
And then
Yeah,
we're
I mean-
like, "Ah!"
It's gonna
blow.
Given circumstances, like I wasn't expecting her to be in a car accident, so I'm like, if the car's gonna blow up now, like what else is gonna happen as far as
Right.
like,
Yeah,
was
exactly.
where
Yeah.
my mindset
Yeah.
was. with
Yeah.
that
I
whole
can't even
thing.
imagine.
Anything
in,
could happen.
in that instance, though, it had you tripping, even though you knew it was a Volt, like where
Yeah.
you almost yanked her out of the car.
For sure.
You know
I'm
what I
like,
mean?
Yeah.
Which you would have been like right to do if you thought it was about to explode. You
Yeah.
obviously don't want her like to die, explode. Obviously, you'd
Yeah.
be paralyzed and alive.
Yeah.
But still, like you could have,
This is
Yeah.
true because then the fire department came and they had to enter from the driver back seat
they were not pulling you right out.
and
right?
came to my
Yeah.
right ear. And he explained that they were going to just cover me while they used the jaws of life to get me out, to which I was just doing this. And then they proceeded to put the white sheet over me. And I freaked out. I completely
gonna
freaked
say,
out
yeah.
because I've seen that white sheet.
Sure.
And
Right.
that white sheet is usually covering a dead body.
Right.
So the moment they put the sheet on me, my eyes, I was just kind of like, bruh, you are not here. Are you dead? Are we?
Oh,
Oh
man.
my gosh, what did I just
Did
experience?
he tell you
And
though?
he
That's
didn't
the
say
only
white
sheets
sheet.
we have.
No, he just said we're going to cover you.
Yeah,
We're just
that's
gonna
the only
cover
sheets,
you.
though, unfortunately. I never thought about that, though.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You just said
damn,
you were
like
gonna
maybe there should be
cover
another
you.
sheet.
Yeah, you know,
Just
we have
another
sheet.
sheet.
Yeah.
Like a Superman
Yellow's
sheet
for
or
live.
something. Like,
Oh my
like,
gosh,
yo,
I
this
was
is
something
this
that
isn't
says
death.
you're not dead on this
Yeah,
side.
right.
No, it was. There was a huge question. Like, was I really talking to him just now?
Yeah.
Did that happen?
Oh man,
Right.
that's gotta be
Am
scary.
Angel, yeah.
Am
Yeah.
I? Is this a
Especially
whole-
if you're in this dream kind of
Right.
state, you know.
and not
yeah.
once
with the
have
low
I
head injury.
actually audibly said anything to anybody since this collision. You
Wow.
know, so now I'm just like, am I tripping? Am I alive? Oh, I'm dead. Oh my gosh, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
You're realizing that you're not able to talk at all,
I wasn't talking.
but you were trying to.
I don't even know if I was trying. I just
Yeah.
know I
She
was
was groaning and like grunting. That was about it.
That
See-
you know what? The wind was knocked so hard
yeah.
that I don't think I got it back until maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and that was after they had gotten me out. Maybe.
See, and that's the other thing too, is like your body at that point was just shifting all your blood down to try to get everything to your organs,
Oh
because
my
all
gosh.
your shit was shattered there, you know?
Oh my gosh.
So
Would've never
regular
known.
functions like that, like just the fact that you were still being able to think and hear everything and see everything, that's amazing.
Right,
You know what I
because
mean?
I had to have gotten my head banged pretty hard.
Yeah, like you can still remember these thoughts. Like you didn't even have like the amnesia of the event. You know what I mean?
No.
That's wild.
The other thing is, you know, femur hip fractures. Those things can bleed a lot. You know, that's the largest bone in your body, the femur. The pelvis, you know, is a large surface area depending on where you break it. So the blood supply in the marrow, and then you have some major vessels that run along. So you have a femoral artery. You have
Where
you know,
where
so-
were you guys in the valley, right?
Yeah, we were on like Woodman and
Was it? I think it's Burbank. No, it's.
it might have been Burbank and Woodman. Or
yeah,
do they
it is.
cross?
See that injury, depending on where you are, they'll put you on a helicopter for that.
possibly.
'Cause
Well, they
his
shut
time
it
is
all down.
flying.
They shut it.
It-
all
Oh, yeah.
down.
What time? This was middle
Like
of the night.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
30, yeah.
11ish p.m.
Yeah, you know, midday. You know, rush hour to get you to UCLA. Is that where you went to?
No, they ended up
No,
taking
we
me
went
to
to
Cedar
Cedar-Sinai.
Sinai.
Okay.
Okay.
Either one of those. You know,
Yeah.
it's in the valley they call for helicopters a lot up there for medical
Ooh,
transport.
that would have been a really
Yeah.
high bill. The bill was high anyway, but with the helicopter on there, my God,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. But yeah, so he whispers, covers me.
How much time went by from the accident to when the fire department showed up?
It felt like
They were
3
there
minutes.
super quick.
It
We
felt
must have been
like
by
three-
a station. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
said
And I
Burbank
feel
and
like-
Woodman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a Chapman? Is that no? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like to me all of like 3 minutes, but again, there had to have been multiple 911 calls,
Sure.
not just OnStar, because all those courteous people that waited
Oh,
for
everyone
us
saw you.
and
yeah.
everyone that ran to the car, and you know it was a big ordeal, but it didn't feel like long at all.
And sometimes they'll let us know that too, you know, because we'll get a traffic. Like I said, it's a pretty common traffic accident. It's a pretty common call for us. But sometimes Metro or our dispatch will come on and say, "Hey, we're getting multiple calls on this," and it kind of makes
okay.
everybody go, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
you know, okay,
it's a real
let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
This is some seriousness. Okay.
and then they'll give us updates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So en route to the call, they might have something popped up that says, you know, one patient trapped. You
Yeah.
know, something like that. So we have a general idea
Interesting.
of what
Mhm.
what's going
crazy.
on when we pull up.
Yeah.
It's I think 102's over there.
Phew,
But
man, I don't know the
Either
valley.
way, but you got
I don't know the valley.
yeah.
too
So there
well.
was a full truck came up, jaws of life.
Yeah.
They
There's
came
a
and they
bunch
talked to you.
of-
They put a collar on you,
They put a collar on
mask.
me. I don't remember. Oh yeah, once I got in the ambulance. Yeah, I just remember
In
someone
the
was
car,
holding
they
my
didn't?
hand. I don't remember a mask while I was in the car. Do you? Them
No, I
covering
think
my
they put
face.
the
Probably
collar-
not a mask. Yeah,
Yeah.
they probably did.
They
that in the
definitely
ambulance.
did a collar.
The
And
collar.
They stuck the
Backboard.
yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and got me out very effortlessly. It was like really smooth.
You slid out the back door.
No, they got me out the front, didn't they?
They cut the door off, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
Right.
They
Yeah.
cut it.
I think they took you out the back.
You know
door.
what? They might have. They reclined my chair, I
Yeah.
believe.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It might
yes,
have
sir.
slid me out
Cut
that
the
way.
sides.
So the
off
whole idea there is to immobilize your back. You know,
Right.
you're hit that hard. Who knows what kind of shifted
Yeah.
or anything? That's why they put the collar on to keep your neck and your C-spine. You know, controls. That's basically your life right there. Controls your diaphragm.
Whew.
You know, your brainstem is everything.
Getting
Yeah.
goosebumps
So,
thinking about this.
They put that on to secure that, and then they put you on the backboard and secure you to the backboard to keep you from shifting around. Kind of trended away from the backboard these days. You know, we don't do that too much
Really?
anymore. But to get somebody out that's trapped like that, we we use it as a tool to help get you out. But yeah, they probably pulled you out the back door. That's
But
probably
I heard them working on the driver door, so I don't know.
they probably popped that door so that they had access to get in there to be able to shift you. But
Yeah.
Okay.
but
Mhm.
actually pulling, if you think about how you're sitting in the chair, to pull you out of your door, they got to shift you like this. Your feet
Yeah.
are trapped like this, and then they got to.
Right.
So you're manipulating the back a lot.
Right.
Mhm.
Whereas if you just lay the back down, stick the board through the back, they can slide you
Slide
out.
Yeah.
straight
Up
out
and
the
out.
back.
That's
You know what I
literally,
mean?
I think, how they did it.
But they'll
They
still
slipped
pop off
something
both
back.
doors to do that, so they're not hitting the door.
I would
so they
venture
can
to
get
say
out.
because I don't even remember because I was obviously in a state of shock too.
Yeah,
but
he had his
Sure.
own trauma.
there was like we had it was a hatchback, so I don't know if they even pulled. They might have pulled you out the actual
I
backpack
don't think
because
they
it was
did that
yeah
for
because
me.
that wasn't that big a car. They slid you out though.
The
Straight away.
thing is that every accident is different. Every car is different. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things when we pull up. The guy that drives the truck, the big truck, the hook and ladder truck, he's called the AO, the apparatus operator. But that's kind of his main job, is knowing the cars, knowing like a volt. You know, there's high voltage going through a volt, so you got to know what you can cut, what you can't cut. You know, all the new cars have airbags in the doors, you know, side current airbags. Those are actuated by little cartridges in there that if you cut, they could explode.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? So you got to know, I got to cut high on this post. You know, I can cut low on this post or whatever. The AO has to know all that about how to open a car up. And if push come to shove and they couldn't get you out of the car, they'll cut the whole roof off that thing, peel it off. They'll cut all the doors off and peel that
And
B post
so
down and get you out.
fast.
Yeah.
So
And that's the thing is
efficiently.
they practice. We practice that stuff every Saturday, Sunday. Every fire station in the city goes out and practices. They pick something to practice, and sometimes we get a car donated from a junkyard to sit in the back, and that's all we do all day long is cut that car
Cut
up
the car up.
That's amazing.
and practice doing it. And you know, that's kind of why we get paid what we get paid, is because we can get called to all kinds of different stuff, and we have to
Yeah.
be able
You
to
have
react
to know
and
it
know how to
and know exactly what you're supposed to do.
in a split second, because lives are on the line, you know.
You gotta know shit.
So with yours, just to briefly touch on it, since we're going that
Yeah.
way, the first thing we would do when we pull up is scan the scene and get an idea of generally how many patients we have, because there's 2 cars involved with yours. I know there are probably at least 2 patients, maybe the guy that was driving this one and you. Maybe you have a couple people in the car that had already gotten out or sitting on the curb.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Maybe you had a car that ran into a bus or something like that, and you got 30 patients on the bus. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing we do, is try to figure out how many patients we have, how many resources we need to get there. And then the AO and the tillerman on the truck probably got out, looked at your car, and quickly assessed and figured out how they're going to cut you out of there. Got all the equipment out, and everybody has it's like a turning a triple play. You know what I mean? Everybody knows their
Yeah.
position. Everybody knows where they got to
Well-oiled
be.
Machine.
It's a well-oiled machine with a good fire department, a good crew.
They do
So-
it a lot of times without even talking to each other too. It's a trip.
Yeah,
because they
it's-
train so much. Everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do. They just do it right away, and then it's just going.
And so they probably, figured out how they're going to cut you out, set up the jaws of life. They probably pried open that door a little bit, cut the hinges with because the jaws of life, you think of the one that spreads like that, but we also have attachments on there that's like giant scissors that will
Wow.
cut through the nader bolt. They'll cut through the hinges on
Yeah.
the door like butter,
Wow.
So, so they probably did all that, and at the same time, the paramedics are the ones that were probably inside talking to you, getting the collar on your neck. Sometimes if somebody's trapped in there super long, they'll start an IV on you there and stuff like that. But
Yeah, and they're doing the assessment on you and making their plan for what they're going to do with you.
and everything's
While
part of
it's
the
happening.
assessment too. If I'm
Right.
talking to you and your answers to me are not making any sense, it's like, okay, maybe she has
Those
a
are
head
little
injury.
flags.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Those are-
exactly. Or if you ask me what happened, I say, hey, you got T-boned by a car, and then I'm doing something else, and you go, hey, what happened? Hey, you got T-boned by a car, sweetheart. It's okay, Okay. Hey, what happened?
Oh,
That'll happen
snaps.
all the way to the hospital. But those are all signs that we give to the nurse when we make base contact at the hospital, so that she can let the trauma doctors know. A lot of times I'll take pictures of the accident on my phone too, so when I show up at the hospital I can say, hey, this is the mechanism
This is what it
of
looked
how
like.
she got hurt, because you might come in and we've cleaned you up and we've got a collar on you and you're all
Right.
packaged up
Yeah.
nice and neat, and now you're clear-headed a little bit more and you're talking a little bit more. It's like, oh, well, she's not that hurt. Oh yeah, look at this.
Yeah. Go dig a little
Mhm.
deeper.
Exactly.
so you
Yeah,
have
you
the
can't believe it
information.
sometimes.
So they pull you out. Let's get back to your story. They pull you out
They
and
pull me out, handheld all the way to the ambulance. They lift me in. At this point, I don't know where Tony is, but I think he.
I was talking to them because I wanted to ride with her to the hospital. So again, from my TV and film knowledge, I was like, well, if I ride the ambulance, I'll be riding in the back with her, hold her hand, make sure she knows I'm there and shit.
TV
Which
knowledge.
was not the case. They're like, they had me ride up front riding shotgun. So like, I'm like, well, this is kind of defeats the purpose because she doesn't know I'm here. So I was trying to, talk through that little window to her. I'm like, hey, I'm here.
They did tell me, they said, is that your fiance? Your fiance's riding in the front.
Yeah. So as you guys know, there's apparently a floor button horn mechanism on the passenger side of the ambulance. I didn't know it. I also didn't know I was hitting it every time. So
he also has a size 15 foot.
So we're driving, down, like we hop on the 101, we're cruising. Every time she hits a bump, because like she had shattered her femur, so she's like moaning in pain and shit, and they're fucking giving her morphine, and I'm trying to like make sure she knows I'm there, and I'm hitting this horn, and the fucking driver's like, hey man, you gotta stop doing that. I'm like, stop doing what? He's like, stop hitting the horn. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's my first time ever in an ambulance. I don't need to be yelled at. Should you not see my chick dying back there? Like,
how many times do you think you hit it?
A bunch.
Okay.
Because I was like, it was because I was not only was I trying to let her know, but I was also like, I gotta call her parents. So
it's every time he's turning to look at me because at every
just where his foot went.
Every hit, he hears me moaning and groaning.
Plus, like ambulances don't have shit for shocks. It's like a city bus. You feel every bump. So as I'm
it's not a
around,
cutlass, that's for sure.
It's not cutlass. And then someone comes from the back like, I need the key for the morphine.
Yeah.
So once he heard that, then he's like, oh my gosh, like what's going on?
The stuff they gave the guy in Saving Private Ryan before he died.
All while like, like I don't know which one he's.
Give her the morphine.
Yes. But
she's
that's
dead,
what
man.
it's
Give her
for.
morphine. No, give her the morphine.
Gonna make her comfortable.
That's why you weren't in the back, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly why. And it's funny you bring up that pedal, man, because when we put people in the front seat, that's the first thing I tell people.
Yeah.
Hey, see these two pedals right here? Those are the siren. Don't step on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No one told
but no
him.
one. But people, and that's the other thing too, is all paramedics are different too, man. You know what I mean? Some guys are more conscious of the fact that you're going through this with her. You know what I mean? And
like, it was the weirdest thing because I almost felt like the guy was like pissed that I had her as a girl. Like, how's this guy? How's this fucking idiot have this chick? It was like this jealousy thing. I'm like, bro, that's my fiance. There was like this weird thing, like as if I wasn't worthy to be with her. It was like that's the mindset I had. Like, this bumbling moron hitting the horn and shit. Like, that type of. It was weird.
The other
making you
thing
more
there,
pissed.
Yeah.
That might not have been a paramedic driving too. When there's an incident like that where she needs a lot of work en route in the back, both paramedics that showed up will be in the back with her. They pull the fireman that showed up, say, hey, you drive.
Because there was two guys back there. Yeah.
You
So
know
interesting. That might be the case.
Yeah. And also, you're probably going with the siren on anyway, dude.
Hand?
Also true.
At the it was a fire department person holding my hand.
Yeah.
And I think he was the driver. Like he was really sweet to me.
Good. That's awesome.
Obviously, I'm like thought I was dying or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, everything okay. Then he jumps in.
That's good to hear.
Starts yelling at Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's good to hear now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, at the time, I'm sure you were like, hey.
It was just like this. I don't know. I like again. There's so much emotion going on, right? And like I said, like the bedside manner you just imagine someone to have, being the fact that like my significant other is laying on the fucking gurney in the back, and you're like, look, stop it. And I'm like, dude, so.
And in hindsight, had he known he wasn't going to be in the back, he would have just driven his cutlass. He would have left his cutlass.
I just straight up left my car on the scene, in the valley at like midnight and shit. I'm like, and like not to sound like a dick, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, my car's probably getting just fucking, just stripped down.
Let's reiterate, this is a '67 classic Cutlass, all original.
Yeah.
And this is the Valley
Cherry. At midnight, and
it was probably unlocked.
I left it completely unlocked. Just fucking literally threw it in park, and I'm surprised I turned it off. I just hopped over to you.
Yeah.
So. I abandoned my car, and
all that's starting to hit you now.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, what happened?
This guy's holding her hand.
Yeah,
this guy's yelling at me for hitting the siren. My freaking car is getting stolen.
Immediately, I had to call her parents, and that's like the call no one wants to make. So like, not only am I calling her parents, both sets of them, I'm calling them from like an ambulance with screaming sirens and shit at midnight. I'm like, hey, Rhavin got in a car accident. Like, she's okay, but we're on the way to the emergency room. Like, so there's like, I hear both of them. I'm trying to feel their emotions. I'm getting emotional and shit. I'm still getting yelled at for horn. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit going on.
And are they here in LA or are they out of state? Or
yes, they're. I have a set that's in Orange County and then a set that's in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And you're flying down Laurel Canyon, right? To get to Coldwater or what?
No, because actually, Woodman, there's an exit.
Of the 101.
So we just basically hop right back on the 101 and then cruise that straight up to, we got off on Highland.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
you just jammed
Yeah.
down Highland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we took that rest of the route to
Yeah,
Cedars.
that's
Seeing it.
right.
But
So then you get to Cedars or the ER. Cedars is if you got to go to an ER like
Cedars is
UCLA,
great,
Cedars,
right?
Cedars
Top
is
notch.
great. Yeah.
I mean, world
Because
renowned.
I'm
great
with Kaiser,
doctors, all
so-
the services you could ask for. So they took you to a great place. So you're there. They wheel in. You're still conscious.
I'm still conscious, but now obviously I'm morphine.
The morphine's
so I'm
hitting,
like,
yeah.
it was all a dream.
well, what was crazy is as they take her into the ER and so that I'm kind of standing at the doorway, right, and
Yeah.
like she had like
Oh,
she
I had
dreadlocks
these.
in at
I
the
had
time.
these goddess locks in.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
if you've seen like the jewelry, hair
the Captain
jewelry,
Jack Sparrow
Mhm.
jewelry. and
Yeah.
shit
he
like
calls
that.
it pirate jewelry. But
Arr.
it was a lot. It was
Right.
a lot of intricate pieces all in my hair, and thankfully I didn't have real head trauma because I'm sure they would just shave that shit off. But instead, they're sitting there taking all of this jewelry out of my hair.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
they're
they're
putting in
just
that
bringing
biohazard
it-
bag, right?
They're just bringing it to him.
So I'm
in
exactly.
loads.
I'm just sitting there like I have no idea what's really going on with her. I'm just kind of like getting all emotional. Like they hand me back the engagement ring that I'd given her like the last year, and now I'm getting all these little articles. I had this little like
Yeah.
gift bag of like my chick's accessories. I'm like, what the
Cut
fuck's
through
going
my
on?
dress. I realized that I had a bloody lip and a busted nose, but
Mhm.
all of that had to have been just from the airbag alone.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It wasn't really the collision.
The
at all.
smoke. The
Had
smoke
you
in your
looked
car.
down at
like-
yourself during it?
I'm sorry.
Had you like looked down? During
I just saw a little. I had no idea
just saw the sheet?
Until I think you told me. Someone told me. I never looked at myself in the mirror the whole time. I just know my face was feeling a little sore. I was just feeling
burning
sore.
a little bit too.
Yeah, it
When-
felt like a little achy and like a little sting.
So when the airbags go off, it's like a canvas, rough canvas, and so that you hit that thing hard. I mean, it basically punches you in the face,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a gas that actuates it. It's an electrical charge that actuates this gas that blows it up. That gas vents once the airbag blows, and it fills. If your windows are up, it fills a car with smoke.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what
like
I saw
powder, yeah.
Exactly.
directly after the
And that
accident.
it's like a powder. It's almost like a dusting
Yeah.
almost. So you get the scratches on your face from the airbag and whatever else you hit your head on, and then that dust kind of settles and it irritates the crap out of your skin.
Yeah.
So you get that a lot. We get people complaining about irritation of their face from
That was the
airbag
dreamy
blowing.
feeling was the smoke,
Yeah, luckily,
right.
just
The
like-
fog, yeah.
you know.
because I was over there opening the door real fast, so I got that. I got
Yeah,
that.
I
you're
always
quick,
tell
right?
him
Quick,
that
yeah.
he ran to the car like
Kramer.
Kramer from Seinfeld, the way he just kind of like
Burst in.
I
yeah,
just remember
whoa.
him going
Yeah.
like this, and I was
With
like,
the
"Oh my
hair.
god!"
Kramer?
Like that was
Yeah.
the feeling. He's just like,
Right.
"Are you alive? Or you're not alive?" But yeah, we get in, and then they put this contraption, this medieval-looking
Yeah, it was like the
contraption with
fucking Wile E.
sandbags
Coyote.
Yeah.
to pull my bone apart, and he couldn't be in for that. And which
Traction
I don't
split.
like that.
Yeah.
I understand it's
Well,
for lawsuit purposes or
Traction
whatever.
splint.
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Right.
Pull
Yeah.
traction. Basically, these muscles in your leg, your quadriceps, the biggest muscles in your body,
Yeah.
they're super strong. They're naturally always kind of pulling like
Mm-hmm.
that, and your femur is what keeps it straight. So when you break that bone and it shifts at all, this muscle all it wants to do is pull this thing.
Yeah.
That's
So when you
probably
break
Your
why I
leg
like
will
it.
get
break a-
shorter than your other leg.
Yeah, you'll get a shortening
was,
like
yeah.
this, and it'll start
Yeah, it'll
rotating
start
it with your
turning.
hip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
what my
they
leg
put
looked
that
like.
brace
Yeah.
on. It goes up in your crotch and it pulls that leg
Yeah.
straight to get that
It looks
bone
like
back
hell,
in
yeah.
line until they can do surgery.
So this one didn't go in the crotch.
Well, it was
This
like
one was just here,
Uh-huh.
and then it hung from off the end of the bed.
And
Well,
they were
same-
doing
same
that
concept.
in the ER,
Same
right?
concept.
Yeah, it was like a 10-pound
pulling
weight.
traction.
Yeah.
It definitely was, and I could feel it. I
Pull-
could feel
pulling,
when he
it's just
started
a
pulling
steady
it.
kind of holding pressure there to keep that leg from
But the funny
pulling
thing
back on
is
itself.
This is again like 3 years ago, right? So like I'm surprised it's still like something as mutable like that because every time like a nurse or someone visiting in the ICU
That
would hit the bed, it
sandbag.
would start swinging and you could see it like kind of pulling her leg. And I'm like,
Yeah.
It's
no
not
one came up with a
fun.
better
It
idea
was
than this?
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
when I was
Like a
drugged
ratchet
up,
strap or something.
but
yeah.
once I wasn't drugged up anymore, someone like hit it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and she was like, "I didn't hit it." I was like, "Yes,
Dude.
you did." Like I felt it.
Sometimes
Like,
they got to put that on scene.
Oh
Like
my
when you're still there in the
gosh.
street or in someone's house, and then you got to drive in the ambulance with that.
Oh
that
my
going
gosh,
the
I
whole way.
cannot even.
Yeah, and
imagine.
you
Well,
got
if
we
you're
have to take the
morphine,
whole
it's
time to
fine.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on morphine. It's
So-
fine, right?
You're in there. You're still awake. You have this. Now you're going for CT,
Yeah, I went for all those, right? I went for.
Yeah.
and you're
something.
still conscious through it all.
This part seems a little I can't really remember
I
everything.
think you were pretty much out once, like, shortly after we got in the ER.
Yeah.
You probably had a decent amount of pain meds in you at
Yeah.
that point too.
Oh,
'Cause I'm
was-
sure once you got to the
I was-
hospital,
They
they
had to
started
keep
giving you
giving
the,
to
the
you.
good stuff. You know.
Yeah, some of the conversations that I had, I don't remember when people were telling me.
So she goes to CT, and then they're pretty much talking to you at that point because there's no other family there, right?
Yeah, like her family was there pretty quick.
Okay.
Like after I arrived, like the oldest had to live in LA came.
Right.
So that just felt bad for them because, like, you know, I at least know that, like, she's okay, you know, in a
Yeah.
sense, and like they just know that she's here in the you know, ICU ER
Mhm.
type situation. So, like, you know, I was trying to keep them at bay, and then, like, and they're older, and it was like, you know, completely waking up out of deep sleep to find out your kids in, like,
Sure.
in ER from a
Right.
car accident, like,
Yeah, it's wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just again, as a little insight, before you showed up at the hospital or on the way to the hospital, the paramedics call. You know, they call. It's called making a base run, right? Cedars is a base hospital. There's certain hospitals that are base hospitals that we call to get guidance on different things, medications and stuff like that.
They can tell you what to do with someone. They can ask the doctor, like, you know, for guidance if you need it. They can tell you to go to a different hospital, or if it's a place closer, and they'll tell the hospital you're coming.
Right.
Kind of like monitors, sort of.
It's just a higher level of care that we, you know, contact and get guidance from them for different things. But in a trauma situation, if we're going to Cedars and on our way to Cedars, I would call Cedars and say, hey, we got a trauma coming. And then I give that nurse a full breakdown of what happened. They call it painting a picture, right? I try to paint the perfect picture for this nurse so she has an idea of what the heck is coming in, you know? So I would tell her the entire story. Hey, we got this car, you know, the size of the car. It was a 4Runner that T-boned her, a significant speed, significant passenger. So I'd go down the whole thing and I would describe each one of your injuries. Because by that time we've gone head to toe looking at every injury.
Right.
And figuring out what we can fix and what we just got to get you to the hospital for. So by the time you get to the hospital and you're rolling in those doors, you probably had a full trauma team of doctors, a trauma surgeon, a number of nurses in there. You've got a pharmacist in there to get the drugs for you. You got the registration girl that's got to get you registered because they can't order anything for you until they get you registered in there. You know what I mean?
Cedars, they train doctors there too, so they've got student doctors watching the trauma, and like, they get something like what happened to you come in. They're like, all right, well, this is a learning opportunity for everybody. So it's like it's a big crowd.
I wonder.
So,
and how did that seem to you? When it was that even more scary, like being in there with all those people around you, kind of prodding and poking, or do you have
a
any
little
memory of
bit,
that?
but I do recall every doctor that came in being very descriptive and how they spoke to me and how they gave me information on the next steps or going forward, what we're going to be doing or what we've done or what we're waiting for. And that always relieves any kind of, you know, nervousness. Personally, for me, I just need information. I don't want to wonder, but if you give me all the information, my brain can be at ease.
Yeah.
So I do remember that. And I do remember we waited, a good 8 hours before I went into surgery.
Yeah.
So after taking all the tests and then them telling me what's wrong, everything's shattered. And surprisingly, my right, it's not clavicle.
Shoulder.
I was gonna say, do you want to say what everything was?
So my left femur shattered, my pelvis shattered, and then my right, I forgot the word.
Your scapula?
Scapula.
Okay.
My right scapula was shattered. Which is weird because I got hit on the left side. So we kept trying to figure out how that happened because even the seatbelt goes this way. It's not,
Right.
I don't know how that happened.
It's
but
the impact.
yeah.
It's called a contricu. It can happen in your brain too. Your brain can hit the other end of your skull from the opposite end of the impact. It's weird.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Does a little.
And this one was fine. The left
That's
shoulder
odd,
was
right?
completely fine. It
I
was
wonder
just
if you
the
hit
right.
like a console or the other seat or something like that. It's weird.
Yeah. Well,
Super strange.
weird, think because of the fact that Volt has like the battery that runs through the mirror and the center console.
Yeah.
Since when she got the impact hit her door and she got pushed over, that doesn't move. That's like the biggest that's why the car didn't flip, is because it's
Low center of gravity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she got just basically smushed between the battery pack and like the car. That's why she got the shattered femur and pelvis.
Man.
So
So
they told
those
you
3
the
injuries.
procedures they were gonna do,
They told
and then
me
you
they
went
were-
in the
yeah.
next morning, basically, right?
Technically, it was after midnight. Or was it midnight?
Yeah,
It was
late the next day.
late the next day. Okay.
It was like around like 2 or something the next day.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
And they told you they were going to do all the procedures at the same time, pretty much, or like
Yes.
one after the other.
No,
Yeah.
you went actually that next night because I remember like
It was
I
a
didn't
whole
sleep.
day.
I fucking stayed up like from the night of the accident, the whole thing.
You're right.
Right, because we had the
Right.
show the next day, and
You're
you
right.
are texting me, and like you were thinking like, should I? And I'm like, dude, don't come to
Yeah.
the show.
He would have
man.
come.
Yeah, I
He's
know. you
very
wanted
loyal.
me. Yeah.
I went back to
would've
get my
come.
car. At 4 in the morning, I fucking took an Uber back to the Deep Valley after her parents got there.
Yeah.
She was like already in the ICU, and everything was kind of like, we're in like a holding pattern.
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, well, I had to go get my other baby out of the fucking Deep Valley and
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And I get there, and like the fucking battery's dead. So now I'm like,
Ah.
and the Uber driver drives off. I'm like, God damn it! Now I'm fucking, and my phone's like dying too. I'm like,
Yeah, no chance to charge the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
So I like got like a jump start, and then I fucking drove it back and like ditched it and grabbed her '98 Honda Civic and drove that back to Cedars and shit. And then
So yeah, then you're back. So we're going for surgery. How long is the whole thing?
The surgery
Yeah,
itself?
we're looking like 10 hours, 8 hours.
No,
No,
it
it
was
was
a
like
few
two-
hours.
I
It was just a couple.
it was like 4.5 hours because I was like surprised that they did like
Yeah, it's pretty.
they did some massive shit because
Yeah.
the
I
X-rays
can't
like
believe they did it that
Because
fast.
you got titanium, you got a rod.
I have a
like
whole
a-
titanium
Right.
rod, and then obviously the 2 screws that hold that in
yeah,
at
you
the
have
top
an
and
extra
bottom.
like hip now, right? Like
Yeah, well, and then I have a
the
long
ball socket?
screw.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
No, you got
I don't have the ball socket. No,
Okay.
I just
your femur is like is titanium.
I know, but it's not a ball socket. It's not a ball socket. I just have a screw holding it at the top
Okay.
and a screw holding it down here,
Right.
and
The
then I have
rod.
this super long screw holding my pelvis together
Wow.
Wow.
because it broke in threes. You know,
Through-
1, 2,
through
3.
the whole pelvis, huh?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's super long. It's
And that's there for the rest of your life.
for the rest of
Yeah.
my life unless I want
Yeah.
to go through therapy all over again and learn how to walk
Yeah.
all over again. Like they can remove it,
Well,
but I would have to go through therapy.
So let's touch on that real quick.
Yeah,
How
please.
how long? How was your recovery afterwards? Like what could you not do anymore that you had to?
I
kinda relearn how to
couldn't
do?
I couldn't walk for what, 4 months?
Yeah. Like a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Crutches.
Yeah, gradually they told me I'd be able to walk as long as I did my therapy,
Yeah.
and I couldn't put any weight on it for at least the first 2 months
Yeah.
whatsoever. So that's where I needed help, just doing normal necessities, just trying to stay alive, go to the
Yeah.
restroom, a sponge bath.
Yeah. It was, and then even being discharged from the hospital, like I said, we were engaged for a year at this point in time. So, like, as they're discharging us, they're like, both sets of her parents were there, and like, who's taking her home? I'm like, me. Like, it was like this
Right.
weird. It was the first time I
Yeah.
actually.
Your
like,
time to step up.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
wanted
Like-
me. Everyone wanted
Yeah.
me home
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah, obviously.
And it took
Yeah.
a lot for them to be like, you know what, this is her future husband.
Yeah.
I'm
Tony's
family now.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that was really big.
So what did this do for your guys' relationship? I mean,
We're definitely stronger because of that than ever. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I mean, I think as far as like everyone has like, your relationships and stuff, and you think you're like, tight with someone. But again, look at the quarantine situation. Like a lot of people are getting divorced and breaking up because,
Right.
you have all this time together. And when you're completely dependent on somebody like Rhavin, I had like, initially sponge baths and stuff, and then like, bedside commodes and just crossing barriers.
And
Yeah.
of-
Sure, yeah.
I am not a do nothing babe. I am very independent. I like to do
That's
things
what I
on
said.
my
It had to
own.
be hard for you.
It
Yeah.
The first time I had to take a shit
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the pain meds you can't go to the bathroom,
Right,
so they had to put me
exactly.
on all this look
Softeners,
Yeah,
yeah.
softeners.
Right. Yeah. The
Yeah.
collace.
So that
yeah.
first collate,
Yeah.
and the first time when it was time, I was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Can
Right.
we stop?
But it was like you do with your kid, where I'm like cheering on. I'm like, come on, baby, you got that shit. You got that
Yeah.
shit.
Right.
Here we
It's
go.
embarrassing.
Here we go. You got
It's
that.
embarrassing.
Hey, it
Who
could
does
be
number
worse.
2
Hey,
work
some
for?
people,
Yeah,
they got to
exactly.
go up in there and get it.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
That's
yeah.
okay. Well, that's a
Yeah,
different
it was
perspective
like
for sure.
super, interesting, like going through all that and making sure, like, trying to, like, get her in and out of bed. I mean, that was a process in its own right because, like, sure, her leg was, like, completely, stuck. So
Yeah.
getting her in and out of bed was a huge undertaking.
And just the trust that you develop with somebody to give, you know what I mean? You had to just give all your trust to him. So
Yeah,
that,
up until then, I had never even really passed gas in front of him, and we're
Yeah.
4 years in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a lot, and it brought us together like a lot.
Yeah.
And we looked back, even in the ER, we were thinking about the Volt, and we were joking about it because it was a lease, and we were getting ready to go over our mileage. And,
Right, yeah.
and I told him he couldn't drive it anymore. And he's like, oh, I'll Uber. And I'm like, no, the hell you are not. You're going to park that shit. And so we're like, well, we don't got to worry about the mileage anymore.
Yeah.
It's gone.
She said that in like the day of surgery. I'm like, her brain's fine 'cause she's like cracking jokes and shit. So that was like a nice reassuring thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So you learned how to walk again,
I learned how to walk again. He helped put me back together.
back on your feet. And
It took a while just because even
and learned how to
from
love.
walker to crutches, and then when I didn't have the crutch, and they were like, you can put all your weight on it, and I tried. It was just kind of like the
Right.
muscle atrophy. I was doing the ET walk. It was
Yeah.
just the
Just
gangsta
waddling
lean.
around.
It was just kind of really bad.
So
And-
then you go another year later, and now, or what, year and a... What I'm saying is they have a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a whole baby.
After all
they
that-
didn't think we were.
The
How long
recovery
after
went
the
that far.
accident was it that you guys actually
About
had
2
a
years
baby?
after we had the kid.
2 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
but we had to have a scheduled C-section though because of it. So
Yeah.
the
That
whole,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
we
the
didn't
idea that
have
you were able to
to.
carry a baby after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know, that's amazing.
It,
yeah.
I didn't know how. I thought I was gonna have a lot of back pain and all this stuff, and it wasn't bad at all.
All right.
Now I have more pain now that he's here. I have to carry him outside on my
Yeah.
hip. It's
Right.
just like,
But that's the thing, though. You can go on walks. You can do everything
Yeah.
again. And,
Yeah.
you're singing again. That's
Yeah.
the other thing. Rhavin is an on-camera host and a singer.
yeah,
And she was, you probably you could have lost all of that.
yeah, for sure.
And you came all the way back.
I'm
You did.
just happy to be here.
Right? That's
Like when
what
I
I mean.
say
Like,
that
you're
shit,
here
I
telling
mean
the
that
story
shit. I'm
now.
just happy to be
yeah.
here. Like I'm happy.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have gotten married. We wouldn't have had a kid. You know.
Yeah, that was again like because of the fact that like there's the whole seeing that her get hit in the rear view. I'm like, my chick's dead. Like we should never gonna get married, never doing that stuff. Like so there was like. We talk about it like I think I had more of a PTSD than she did because she didn't know any of
Yeah.
that shit.
Right.
And
And
I was
right.
like, and she knew she was alive. But like
Yeah.
there was a good it took me like maybe a minute to make a U-turn and come back with the traffic and shit. And I was like she was dead for that entire time.
That entire time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why it's cool to have both of you guys on. And I appreciate both you guys coming on together to talk about
Yeah,
this. That's
thanks
a big
for having
thing.
us.
Yeah.
I mean, because we laugh about it now. I mean, we
Yeah.
joke hard about it.
Right.
But didn't realize I had PTSD until we heard a car accident when we were somewhere, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard it. You see the aftermath, right?
Right.
Crunched up cars and stuff, but
Right.
to hear the and the
Sure.
metal and the
It goes right
it
through you
took-
again, right?
yes,
For
it
real.
took a good 30 minutes for me to get my footing again, and I didn't. And that was 2 years after the accident. I had
Man.
never heard a car accident since mine,
Yeah.
and
But it sticks with
That's when
you.
it brought it back.
Something like that. something
horns don't
significant.
scare
Sticks
me,
with you.
ambulance sirens don't scare me, but hearing the actual accident, that's
Yeah.
what freaked me out.
Well, I'm glad you guys are good now. I appreciate you guys coming on. This is cool. This
Thanks
is
for
very
breaking everything
interesting.
down.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for
This is a
breaking
trip,
everything
man.
down.
Never
Thanks
heard the
for
whole
your
story
work,
like that.
Moreover.
Yeah, you
Thank
guys are heroes.
Yeah, we appreciate you
Oh,
guys. So
shucks.
that was Tony Klein or his wife Rhavin Klein. Tell them where they can follow you guys.
Tony Klein comedian on the gram and all the other social medias.
And I'm at B Stays Busy. Busy is BIZZY everywhere.
All right, follow them. They're great, and you can see their adorable baby.
Yeah.
Danny, you want to holler at him?
Yeah, you can follow me at Danny Gonzo34 on Instagram. Thank you guys both so much for coming out. I think your story is it's a good inspiration for anybody that might be going through something
Yeah.
that seems insurmountable right now. that you can get
Depression
pa-
is
that you-
real during recovery.
Exactly, and you can get past it and be happy again, and blessings can come from it. But thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. Ben, where can they find you?
You can find me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor, clever handle on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow our podcast at PRC Pod on Instagram. We'll get a Twitter going for it soon, and YouTube and all that. We appreciate you guys listening, tuning in.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, if you have a story you want to share with us, hit us up. And we're going to start dropping these every week. Thank you guys very much.
And thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you.